Welcome to Dimensional Shift, where we explore and actively deprogram ourselves, seek the truth of reality through expanding our perceptions, and focus on full remembrance of our true selves. As we begin to connect to our true selves, we will also see the truth of this illusory reality and the way it controls us through our manipulated perceptions. As soon as we fully remember our true selves, we will also see the enemy for what it is and how to rebalance the system by freeing ourselves and assisting others to do the same, creating a domino effect into the evolution of human consciousness. Welcome back to the Dimensional Shift for Starseeds. I've been getting comments and feedback from listeners, and it's really exciting to hear from you guys, so please keep commenting. I have gotten some disagreements with my viewpoints, so I wanted to talk briefly about this idea of who's right and who's wrong. And my first point is, nobody is. As long as we are evolving and growing into wiser beings, I don't think at this point it really matters, because none of this is provable at this point. And so much of what I say will evolve and change as this podcast grows, as I continue to change and learn things as a human, as a starseed. And so anything I say is subject to change based on new information that I gather. And I think that's fine. I think it's good to grow as a person. It's good to grow as a galactic being. And I think that as long as we're willing to stay open to changing perspectives based on experience and wisdom and knowledge that we gain, I think that's fine. That being said, if you do disagree with me, I'd love to hear from you. We can have a chat and talk about our differing viewpoints and maybe just come to some kind of new conclusion, talk together for a moment and come to a new conclusion. But going back to this idea of dichotomies, I think the idea of right and wrong basically sums up what a dichotomy is. When you're only given two choices, such as one person being right and one person being wrong, you're showing that it's not truly free will. If someone gives you the choice of, do you want an apple or do you want an orange, and you don't like fruit at all, that's not really you being given the free will choice of no fruit. And so a dichotomy is two things that are mutually exclusive. They're opposites. And when you're only given one choice of those two, that is not free will. The true illusion of the Matrix is that we have free will here, and we don't. When we're given the choice of check out on social media or go to work, that's not free will. Sometimes we are able to struggle through, sometimes we can blaze our own trails, but when our lives are run on a socially accepted script, such as you are born, you go through your toddler years, get up and go to school during elementary school and into high school, and you go to college and you get a job and you work until you retire, and then you go live in a condo in Arizona until you die. That's a socially acceptable script, and that's not truly free will. And of course, all of that is subject to vary based on your race, ability, socioeconomic status, those kinds of things. Some people get the better end of the deal and they are able to have that kind of life, and some people struggle through the school prison cycle, and it's not a free will path. And I think that people talk about the illusion of the matrix and how the 3D matrix, the matter matrix, is the matrix. And I don't think that's truly the illusion. I think the illusion is the system that holds us in place in these scripts that we live through, that don't allow us to express who we are, that don't allow us to live the life that we actually want to live. And so when you have this dichotomy where you obey the law or you go to jail, or you go to college and struggle with your college debt for the next 20 years of your life, or you get a job that doesn't hardly pay minimum wage, like, those aren't choices. That's the lesser of the two evils. And I think that dichotomies is essentially that phrase. It's you choose the lesser of the two evils. It's not a choice you want. It's not the choice you want. It is the lesser of the two evils. And we can get into the political structure here too, where we have, Do you want the elephant or do you want the donkey? Well, actually, I don't want either. Can't we come up with a new system, a better system? And so the illusion of the matrix is that we get a choice. And I don't think that we do for the most part. We are purposefully divided to keep us controlled and to keep us blaming each other. The donkeys blame the elephants blame the donkeys. Guess what? They're both monkey butts. It doesn't matter because the whole system is broken. And so we have to look at this idea of the quantum field of possibilities where we don't just have two options. We have a whole field of infinite possibilities, and we are not allowed to access them. There's always more than two possibilities out there, and we are limited here based on what whoever you'd like to believe is in control. That idea varies from person to person. I just call it the system. You can call it the matrix. Whoever you believe controls this. There's some people who believe that we're guided by our higher selves, and there's some people who think that different galactic collectives are involved, and I'm somewhere in between. I honestly have not decided who I think is in control. I think that my heart wants to hope that we have more control than we really do, and yet my mind is like, that there's probably more going on behind the scenes than we really know about. So I haven't decided yet. I know that a lot of what we see is not free will, and most people don't have the choices in their lives that they wish they did. And so when we're talking about relative reality, going back to episode 3, relative reality causes conflict, and I think that's done on purpose. So my perspectives, like I was talking about in the beginning, my perspectives are different than some of my listeners' perspectives. The problem is that we're allowing ourselves to be controlled by arguing about it. As soon as we decide that someone's wrong, we're all wrong. We're all buying into the idea that there's a choice, that there's an absolute truth. And this idea that there's an absolute truth is the biggest lie we've been sold. It's where the illusion comes in. The illusion is that there is absolute truth, and the illusion is that we have free choice. As soon as we decide there's an absolute truth, free will goes out the window. There is no such thing as an absolute truth because reality, I keep saying this, reality is relative. What appears to be one way for me is different for someone else. And this is where a lot of the control measures come in. It's kind of like that cult mentality. Someone decides there's an absolute truth, or they're told there's an absolute truth. They buy it as truth, and then they start spreading the word, and then they start persecuting people who don't agree with them. That's when free will goes out the window. So if there are no absolutes and no real truths, how do we know anything? Well, we don't really. We can take things as truth for a period of time. And I think that that's okay as long as you're willing to stay open to the possibility that you're wrong. Because when we decide that we're wrong, we can evolve and grow. It's when we decide that we're always right and we're always going to be right, that's when evolution stops. And we all know what happens when we stop growing and stop evolving. We atrophy, die, and decay. And that is also what happens to systems. And we can see that going on with our system right now. But as long as we're willing to stay open to the idea that we're wrong, and we're willing to discard beliefs as quickly as we take them on, and we realize that life is just a series of experiments, then we stay open to growth and we stay open to evolution. I posted a comment on someone's Instagram earlier today that a failure is what gives us data to restart with more wisdom, and a success is what gives us energy to keep moving forward. And I think that that's basically what life is. It's a series of experiments. You try things. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. Either way, you keep going, you keep learning, you keep trying, because that's all we really can do at this point until we are able to somehow dismantle and fix the system that we have going on right now. Until we can reinstate true free will, all we're going to be able to do is experiment, try things, and retry, start over, try again. The very tragic thing is that this reincarnation cycle that we're on right now doesn't allow us to remember the things that we've learned in previous lifetimes. Although there are a lot of beings who are able to access past lives and all of the information that they had. So that ability is re-evolving into us. We're slowly taking off that blindfold that was placed over us. And I think that's going to be really helpful as we begin to dismantle the system. And so going back to this idea of dichotomies, I think that we need to be very careful that we are telling anybody they're wrong or deciding that we're right for any lengthy period of time. Of course, cerebral conversations full of, I believe this and you believe that, can be helpful for coming to new realizations and finding those new possibilities and finding creative solutions. But when we start blaming each other and using it as a way to make ourselves better than someone else, that's when it becomes a real issue. That's what sets up things like the system that we're under now. Someone decides that they're more right than someone else and gets other people to follow them, and voila, control, enslavement, etc. For those of you who have been leaving comments and opening discussions on these topics, I would love for you to keep posting, keep commenting. I'd love to hear from you. If you haven't yet, please leave a review, leave a comment on my YouTube videos, leave a comment on my Instagram, anything like that. Let me know what you're thinking about these podcasts. Let me know your opinions. We can open a discussion and start having more intelligent conversations. I would love for you all to join my free Discord server. That information is on my website. I will put the link in the show notes, but it's dimensionalshifter.com/Discord. Next week's podcast is going to include a guest podcaster. I am very excited to be bringing in more voices so that we can have more perspectives on these issues. Exclusive content from those guest podcasters, which come out the first Monday of every month, will be available in my memberships, which launch on my website January 1st. If you found this episode helpful or insightful, please share it with a friend and leave a review or comment. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. I host twice weekly open discussions on the podcast topic on our Discord server. If you'd like to join, head to dimensionalshifter.com/Discord. If you're on Reddit, come join the subreddit r/dimensionalshifters or send me a DM. My username is dimensionalshifter. Keep deprogramming, keep connecting, keep listening to your intuition. This is it. This is what we've been searching for our whole lives. Connection to our true selves.